literature and cross-cultural elements. 3.3 William Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice and cross-cultural elements. As mentioned in video 3.2, there is an observable connection between the long interest and the conversion of Jews to Christianity. In The Merchant of Venice, Jessica tells Lorenzo about the connection between the rising price of pork and the conversion of Jews to Christianity, mentioned by Lancelot. Jessica, he tells me flatly there's no mercy for me in heaven because I am a Jew's daughter, and he says you are no good member of the Commonwealth. For in converting Jews to Christians, you raise the price of pork. Charging interest on a loan could affect not only pork prices but also other food prices in Shakespeare's time under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. In The Merchant of Venice, the Jewish Jessica becomes a Christian through her marriage to the Christian Lorenzo. Lancelot therefore says that Lorenzo is no good member of the Commonwealth. The more Jews were converted to Christianity, the more Jewish Christians might lend money to needy Christians without charging interest because of brotherhood. More people being able to borrow more money may cause inflation because of an excessive growth of money supply. In other words, no interest on loans may result in a larger amount of money in circulation in a country. An excessive growth of money supply may reduce the purchasing power per unit of money. When people in a country have to spend more money to buy necessities of life, the general price level rises. This is how inflation develops, and it happened in Shakespeare's time under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. According to G.R. Elton, the first serious English inflation was seen in the reign of Henry VIII, and it continued into the reign of Elizabeth I. The inflation decreased the royal income and increased the royal expenditure. As a result, Queen Elizabeth I died £400 in debt. In view of the trend in which foreigners living in her realm exported precious metals, in 1600, Elizabeth I issued a proclamation stipulating that none of sterling, silver, and gold were allowed to be transported out of her realm. To be specific, the inflation caused by no interest on loans between Jewish Christians and Christians firstly expand the money supply. Subsequently, general price level rises. The rate of inflation moves up. More people are in debt. Consumer spending drops. And at last, the economy falls into a recession. You may want to know why there was no interest on loans between Jewish Christians and Christians. According to the Old Testament, no interest should be charged on any loans between Christians in order to protect the poor. If you lend money to any of my people with you who is poor, you should not be like a money lender to him, and you should not exact interest from him. Friendship is mentioned in the dialogue in which Antonio asks Sherlock to lend him money. Let me read aloud their dialogue in this play for you. Antonio, I'm as like to call thee so again, to split on thee again, to swear thee too, if thou wilt lend this money, lend it not, as to thy friends, for when the friendship take a breed, for barren metal of his friend, but lend it rather to thy enemy, who if he break, thou mayst with better face exact the penalty. Sherlock, why, look at you, are you so? I will be friends with you and have your love. Forget the shames that you have stained me with. Supply your present wants and take no doit of usance for my money. The friendship in the dialogue between Antonio and Sherlock is similar to the matter of loans that were offered to fellow Israelites who had the potential for paying the loan back. The Israelites are the ethnic people whom Jews originally traced their ancestry. Generally speaking, no one would offer a loan to someone who has no means of paying it back. If a borrower cannot pay it back, the moneylender offers charity. Charity is a different subject in the Old Testament. According to Judaism, Jews are not allowed to charge fellow Jews interest. They are forbidden from usury among their fellow Jews. If a Jewish borrower cannot pay the loan back, the Jewish money lender offers charity. However, they are permitted to charge non-Jews interest based on the Old Testament. The Mosaic Law includes rules written in the Old Testament, while the law of Christ is written in the New Testament. There is a similarity between the Mosaic Law and the law of Christ. There is no specific rule in the New Testament for Christians to avoid charging one another interest. Therefore, based on the Testament, it cannot be wrong or sinful to charge interest. Generally, Christians in Shakespeare's time inclined not to charge fellow Christians interest. Any interest was regarded as usury. But a Jew could get interest from a Christian. The Merchant of Venice deals with cross-cultural perspective of charging interest on loans.